I'm done with you. I've found someone else and already packed your stuff into storage. My name's Leonard Kessler, 54, staring at my phone in the kitchen of our Des Moines condo at 11:42 p.m. on a Thursday. My wife, Dana, was supposed to be on day 4 of a women's retreat in Palm Springs. The text arrived with a screenshot of a bank transfer. $118,000 shifted from our shared savings to her private account. I placed my phone on the counter and sipped the last of my coffee. 15 years of marriage gone in 2 sentences and a screenshot. For months, the clues had been there. Extended weekend trips, new outfits she never wore at home, phone conversations that cut off when I walked in. I saw it all. I'm a forensic accountant. Spotting inconsistencies is my job, but I stayed silent. Maybe that was my first error, or perhaps the real mistake was marrying someone who thought my work was just dull numbers and spreadsheets. I opened my laptop and checked a secret email account Dana didn't know about. 3 alerts from my bank's security system. Someone had tried to reset passwords on accounts she'd never seen. She was being meticulous. I had to give her credit for that. I picked up my phone and typed 2 words in reply, best wishes. Then I called my brother, Jason. Remember that backup plan we talked about 5 years ago? I said when he picked up. It's time. You sure? He asked. Yeah, I said. She just made her move. I hung up and glanced at the wedding photo on the wall, the only picture in the condo that still showed us together. I should have noticed that too. I met Dana Bowman at a University of Iowa alumni gathering. I was 38, fresh off a brief first marriage, and laser-focused on growing my forensic accounting firm. Dana was 34, full of energy, driven, and completely uninterested in my career. I don't need to know the specifics, she'd say whenever I tried to share a case, as long as you earn enough for us to live comfortably. We wed after a year of dating. I funded her yoga studio, covering every cost from my savings. When she wanted a bigger house in a nicer area, I agreed. When she craved luxury cars and lavish trips, I signed off without complaint. My dad warned me once while we were repairing his porch, hammer in his hand. Son, I see your wife spends a lot of your money, he said cautiously. Just make sure she respects what you do to make it. I brushed it off, but his words lingered. 6 years into our marriage, I started quietly safeguarding my assets. Nothing shady, just prudent. I set up 2 LLCs, created trusts, invested in cryptocurrency, and opened offshore accounts for international clients. Dana knew about our joint checking and savings, nothing more. I watched as she got deeper into the fitness influencer world. Her Instagram following swelled into the thousands. She began taking trips with her wellness crew, first weekends, then whole weeks. You wouldn't like it, she'd say. It's all yoga chatter and green smoothies. Last Christmas, she forgot my birthday. When I brought it up the next day, she gifted me a pricey watch and said, I've just been swamped with the studio's growth. I accepted the watch, but that night, I finalized my contingency plan. The signs were obvious. I just didn't want to admit the truth. The morning after her text, I woke early and brewed coffee, as always. Routines are tough to break, even when your life falls apart. I logged into my custom financial system, built for my firm but tweaked for personal use. With a few clicks, I activated the emergency protocol Jason and I had crafted years before. First, I locked all joint accounts and credit cards. Then I flagged the $118,000 transfer as fraudulent, using my banking connections to fast-track the process. I emailed my lawyer proof of financial misconduct with orders to file for divorce immediately. Then I called my mom. Dana's gone, I said plainly. She took the money and moved my stuff out while she was supposedly on vacation. My mom was silent for a beat. I'm sorry, Leonard, she said finally, but I'm not shocked. What's your plan? What I've been preparing for years, I replied. Protect what's mine. An hour later, my phone flashed with Dana's name. I ignored the call. 10 more followed, then a text. What did you do? The money's gone and my cards are useless. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the storage unit she'd mentioned in her text. Using the code she sent, I retrieved 2 boxes of my clothes and my laptop. The rest, family photos, my dad's keepsakes, books, were missing. That's when something solidified inside me. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about 15 years tossed aside without a second thought. It was about someone thinking they could erase me from my own life. I stopped at a cafe and opened my laptop. Using specialized financial databases only licensed investigators can access, I dug into Trey Harmon. The fitness influencer Dana had been tagging in posts for months. The someone else she'd mentioned. What I found confirmed my suspicions. Trey's gym was drowning in debt. 3 maxed-out business credit cards, a lease he couldn't sustain, and Dana had co-signed a car loan with him 2 months earlier. I shut my laptop and checked into a hotel. For the first time in years, I knew exactly what to do. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Monday morning, I walked into my office like nothing had happened. My assistant, Valerie, looked surprised. "Leonard, I thought you'd take some time off. Dana's called here 3 times already." "Has she?" I said, not really asking. "She sounded frantic, said there's a mix-up with your accounts and she needs to talk to you urgently." I nodded. "If she calls again, direct her to my lawyer." By noon, Dana had gone from phone calls to showing up in person. The receptionist buzzed my office. "Your wife's here, she's pretty insistent." I sighed and walked to the lobby. Dana stood there, designer sunglasses perched on her head, yoga outfit impeccably matched. She flashed a smile when she saw me, the same smile she'd used for 15 years when she wanted something. "Leonard, there's been a huge mix-up with the bank," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "All our accounts are frozen." "No mix-up," I said quietly. "You transferred money without my consent." The bank flagged it as fraud. Her smile wavered. "It was our joint account. I'm your wife." "You're my soon-to-be ex-wife who drained our savings while announcing you'd moved out and found someone new. That's textbook financial misconduct." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You can't do this to me. I've already made deposits on a new place. I've made promises." "To Trey Harmon? Yeah, I know about those promises." Her face paled. "You're investigating me?" "No, just protecting myself from fraud." "I'll fight this," she snapped. "I deserve half of everything." I looked at her calmly. "Half of what's in those accounts, sure. But you seem to think that's all there is." She blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "You'll find out in discovery," I said, then turned and walked back to my office. That afternoon, Dana's new lawyer emailed, demanding access to all financial records and threatening to expose irregularities in my firm if I didn't comply. It was a weak bluff, empty of substance. I forwarded it to my attorney with one note: proceed as planned. By evening, Dana had rallied mutual friends to her cause. My phone buzzed with texts accusing me of being cruel and controlling. No one asked where she'd been the past week or who she'd been with. No one mentioned the money she'd taken. I didn't bother replying. Instead, I went to the gym, not Dana's studio or Trey's flashy fitness center, but the small community center I'd frequented for years. I lifted weights until my muscles burned, then returned to my hotel. The trap was tightening, but not around me. 3 days later, my attorney called. "We found something," she said. "Dana's been siphoning money from your joint account for over a year, small amounts at first, then bigger ones." "To where?" I asked, though I already suspected. "Multiple accounts, some to her personal savings, but most to an LLC registered to Trey Harmon. Nearly $80,000 total, and she used your joint funds as the source." "Yes, which means we can add financial infidelity to the divorce filing." I thanked her and hung up. I wasn't shocked, but the confirmation still hit hard. Dana hadn't just left me for someone else. She'd been planning it for over a year, using my money to bankroll her exit and her new boyfriend's business. That night, I got a text from an unknown number: "Back off. Dana deserves better than you. Don't make this messier than it needs to be. Trey Harmon stepping in directly. Bold move." The next morning, I drove to my brother's house. Jason worked in cybersecurity, a perfect match for my financial expertise. We'd teamed up on cases before, but this was personal. "I need everything on Harmon Fitness LLC," I told him. "Bank records, loans, credit applications, the works." Jason raised an eyebrow. "Legal channels only, right?" "Of course," I said. "We're just connecting public dots faster than most." 3 hours later, we had it. Trey wasn't just in debt. He was sinking. His social media screamed success, but his business was failing. New equipment, expansions, and events were funded by high-risk loans and, recently, Dana's contributions. But there was more, something Dana couldn't have known. "Look at this," Jason said, pointing at his screen. "Harmon applied for a small business loan 4 months ago using gym equipment as collateral." "Standard," I said. "Yeah, but check who co-signed." I leaned in. The document showed Dana's signature on a $175,000 equipment loan. "She co-signed before she left you," Jason said quietly. "But here's the twist. The loan holds her spouse jointly responsible. They used your marriage to get better terms." I stared at the screen. "She tied my assets to his loan without telling me." "Exactly. And there's more: 3 credit cards, a car lease, and a new commercial lease, all co-signed by Dana, all backed by your marital assets." I stood and walked to the window. Outside, kids played in the neighbor's yard, unaware of adult betrayals. She has no clue what she's done, I said finally. Neither does he. The next morning, I met my attorney and shared everything. I want to act fast, I told her, before they catch on. She reviewed the files and nodded. We'll file for emergency asset protection today. The loan fraud alone justifies freezing everything until the divorce is settled. That afternoon, I drove to Harmon Fitness. The gym was sleek, with inspirational quotes on the walls and Trey's face on every poster. Inside, young gym-goers snapped selfies between lazy workouts. Trey spotted me right away. He was taller in person, with a fake tan and gleaming teeth that screamed image-conscious. He approached, hand outstretched, smile calculated. "You must be Leonard," he said. "Dana's talked about you." "I bet she has," I replied, ignoring his hand. "We need to talk in private." His smile flickered, but he led me to his glass-walled office, visible but soundproof. "What's this about?" he asked, shutting the door. I set a folder on his desk. "This is every financial tie between you and Dana, loans, credit cards, leases, all co-signed, using our marital assets as collateral." He opened the folder warily. "I don't follow. It's simple. Dana used our marriage to secure your business loans. Now we're divorcing, and those guarantees are void." His face lost color as he scanned the pages. "These are legit business deals between me and Dana." "Maybe," I said, "but the banks approved them based on our combined assets and income, assets she no longer controls." He shut the folder. "What do you want?" "Nothing from you, just letting you know the banks will call those loans due soon." His voice hardened. "Dana said you're loaded, money's not a problem for you." "Money's never been the issue," I said. "Trust was." I stood to leave but paused. "One more thing. When Dana moved out, she took things that matter to me, family photos, my dad's watch, stuff money can't replace." He stared at me for a long moment. "I'll see what I can do." I nodded and left. The next day, a courier dropped off a box at my hotel. Inside were the missing photos, my dad's watch, and other keepsakes. No note. That afternoon, my attorney confirmed the emergency asset protection was granted. All joint assets would stay frozen until the divorce was finalized. I checked my financial system. Dana had tried accessing our frozen account 17 times in the past day. She'd also attempted to open a new credit line using our condo as collateral. Denied. My phone lit up with her name again. This time I answered. "What have you done?" she demanded, voice trembling. "The bank's calling in Trey's loans, all of them. They're taking the equipment tomorrow." "That's tough," I said evenly. "This is cruel, Leonard. You're ruining him to hurt me." "I'm not touching him, I'm just protecting myself from fraud. You used our marriage to back his loans without my approval. That's illegal." "We can fix this," she said, her tone softening. "Come home. We'll talk." 15 years, and she still thought I was that easy to sway. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "The divorce is moving forward. The fraud investigation continues. And Trey's about to learn a costly lesson about checking his partners." I hung up and blocked her number. That night, I slept better than I had in months. 3 weeks later, I sat in a conference room for court-ordered mediation. Dana and her lawyer walked in. She looked worn out, her designer clothes and flawless makeup unable to mask the stress. Her attorney spoke first. "My client is open to a fair split of assets despite the aggressive moves so far." My attorney smiled politely. "Good to know, because we've uncovered something." She slid a document across the table. "The bank's fraud investigation is complete. Dana forged Leonard's signature on multiple loan documents, using their marital assets as collateral without his consent." Dana's lawyer skimmed the papers, face paling. "We'll need time to review this." "Of course," my attorney said, "but the bank has already referred the case to the district attorney. This meeting is a courtesy before criminal charges are filed." Dana stared at me, eyes wide. "Criminal charges? Leonard, you can't mean this." "I didn't file them," I said calmly. "The bank did. That's what happens with loan fraud." Her attorney whispered to her. She shook her head fiercely. "If Miss Bowman signs our proposed settlement today," my attorney continued, "Leonard will provide a statement to the bank that could lessen the criminal consequences. He won't pursue charges for the stolen property or unauthorized transfer." I watched Dana's carefully built world crumble. She'd expected me to be emotional, jealous, maybe even desperate. She hadn't anticipated accountability. "The settlement's fair," I said quietly. "You keep your yoga studio, which is profitable. You keep your car and personal items. No alimony, and you take on the debts you signed for in my name." "And Trey?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. "Mr. Harmon's financial mess is his own," my attorney replied. Without your husband's assets backing those loans, the banks already started repossession. Dana signed the papers without further protest. As we left, she grabbed my arm. I never thought you'd push back like this, she said. You always went along with everything. That was my choice, I said, just like this was yours. I walked away without looking back. A month later, I moved out of the hotel into a modest craftsman house near downtown Des Moines. Nothing extravagant, just a fixer-upper with potential to keep me busy. I heard through friends that Dana had relocated to Colorado for a fresh start. Her Instagram was full of mountain scenery and quotes about new chapters. Trey's gym had been bought out by a national chain, and he'd moved to Miami to grow his brand. Neither mentioned their downfall. People rarely broadcast their failures. My brother Jason came by one Saturday to help install kitchen cabinets. Heard from Dana? He asked as we aligned the hinges. Nope, I said, and I don't expect to. You could have taken her for everything, he said. The fraud charges alone would have guaranteed it. I shrugged. What's the point? She's not my problem anymore. We worked in quiet rhythm, measuring, cutting, and mounting, the task almost meditative. I'm thinking of taking a break, I said eventually. Maybe head to Minnesota, fish at the cabin. Dad would have liked that, Jason said. You haven't been there since he passed. That evening after Jason left, I sat on my back porch with a glass of whiskey. The neighborhood was calm, with only the occasional dog bark or kids' giggle cutting through the stillness. Different from the fancy area Dana had demanded, but more genuine somehow. I reflected on the past 15 years, how I'd let someone else shape my life, my value, how I'd seen the red flags but ignored them, how, when the moment came, I was ready because some part of me always knew it would. I didn't feel triumphant, I didn't feel justified, I just felt free. The next morning I called my office and said I'd be off for 2 weeks. Then I packed my truck, locked the house, and drove north. No plan, no expectations, just the open road. And for the first time in years, no hidden tally of grudges to settle.